Hello and welcome to the No Balls Podcast. I'm your host Patrick McDonald, joined with Sheldon Kaufman. This is the sixth episode of the NBA offseason show. This episode is for the Boston Celtics. Very stark contrast to the last episode. We went from the Wizards, now we're going to the NBA champion Boston Celtics. Any comments on the Celtics here that you got here?
I'll say one word on the Celtics year. Celtics season that will pretty much sum it all up. But dominant.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Like all the way through, they seemed like the favorite in the finals. Um, you'd have to look for reasons to not pick the Celtics to predict the Celtics basically all season. Uh, what made it happen for them, obviously, is their moves that they made in the offseason, bringing in Drew Holiday, bringing in KP. Great moves. Interestingly enough, they didn't even give up a first-round pick for KP. Just absolute masterclass from the front office. There's not much to say besides they were champions, and you knew it the whole season that they were champions. Essentially, is how basically everyone felt. 64-18, first in the Eastern Conference, first in the entire NBA. Their Pythagorean expected record, 66-16, so even better than that. Their home record, you could not beat them at home. Don't worry about it. 37-4, 27-14 on the road. Very good stuff. 43-12 pre All-Star game, 21-6 post. First Eastern Conference, 41-11. They dominated the East, and then they were also really good against the West, 23-7. In clutch time, 21-12. They're winning 64% of the clutch games. Very good stuff. And then 43-6 in the non-clutch games. Anything on the record standpoint with the Celtics here?
Um, I think a lot of it. I mean, you said it before, but trading for Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis was huge for them. They pretty much gave up. They went forward and got their guy in Drew Holiday. I think a lot of Celtics fans were a little upset that they got rid of Malcolm Brogdon. Coming off, I think that was coming off his sixth man of the year.
Exactly.
So it was a surprising move, but definitely the right move. I think Drew Holiday changed this team. I think Kristaps Porzingis completely changed this team, and that's the reason they were titled. One of the two big reasons they were titled. They won the title this year.
Yeah, and I mean we'll get into the numbers for sure lately, but yeah,
Yeah.
when they had their guys, yeah, good luck. You mentioned Brogdon. They didn't like giving up Brogdon. Even more, they didn't like giving up fan favorite Marcus Smart as well.
Yeah.
They gave up stuff to get stuff in return. I'll say this: I did not expect the moves to work out the way that they did. I didn't like losing Brogdon and Robert Williams. I thought Robert Williams was key for them, but I mean, everything panned out. Clearly, it worked. They had a plan and they executed it damn near perfectly. Going forward, last season, 123.2 offensive rating, first in the NBA. On defense, a 111.6 defensive rating, third in the NBA. Obviously, they had the best net rating, 11.6. They were dominant. Third in transition offense, first in transition defense. So you're not giving up anything there. This is all around a great team. We're going to get into the other specifics of it on offense and defense, but anything you got on just that standpoint, offensive, defense, slanted stuff.
I mean, it was just obvious that they were, like I said, dominant, and that teams really just didn't have a chance against them. And they're dominant from both sides of the ball, which is really impressive. Top three in each category. It's very good.
Yeah, almost impossible feeling to say that they were a top three offense and a top three defense.
Yeah.
Going on to their offense, they had their strengths and weaknesses, mainly strengths. One of their general weaknesses we'll say relative weaknesses actually. 15th in pick and roll ball handler efficiency, 28th in frequency. So they didn't actually do it that much, but they weren't that great at it when they did it. 52nd percentile. It's okay. Where it gets better here. 7th in roll man efficiency, 17th in frequency, 79th percentile. They're really good. First in post up efficiency, second highest frequency, 100th percentile. Excellent stuff. Sixth in isolation efficiency, fourth in frequency, 83rd percentile. And then on the rebounding aspect offensively, 14th in offensive rebounding. Excellent stuff here. Anything you want
Yeah,
to there?
yeah. I mean, we'll get into more of like why those numbers were so great and the scheme part again, but sounds like a lot of the post and rebounding numbers, a lot of that goes to Kristaps Porzingis. I think that's just a testament to how great he is as a player. And if you look at some of the other bigs they had, Al Horford, Luke Cornett that shot 70% from the field last season, definitely have bigs that are efficient and that can hurt you.
Yes, certainly. Porzingis, as a fan watching the games against the Celtics, if when Porzingis is out there, they're unbeatable.
Yeah,
And I think he, you know, but definitely going into the season might not have been viewed as one of the more important players in the league, but man, he might have been the second best player on the Celtics last year. Um, that first rank in post ups that doesn't only count up scoring off of post ups, but also passing out of post ups. A lot of that leads to 3 point attempts, second in 3 point percentage, 15th in 3 point attempts, and then somehow even better, this probably feeds more into their isolation scoring. Eighth in 3 point pull up percentage, and then second in 3 point pull up attempts. They were shooting threes. That is the strategy of the Celtics. Get it inside and then kick it out. And nobody shot the three ball better than the Celtics probably all year. Um, on defense, again, very good. 13th in pick and roll ball handler defense. It happened fifth highest frequency, 62nd percentile, pretty good. Defending the roll, fourth in efficiency, and then eighth highest frequency, 90th percentile defending the roll. Post ups, 14th highest defense, ninth highest frequency, 55th percentile. It's all right. And then on defense, 11th in ISO defense, fourth highest frequency, 65th percentile, and then they were the seventh best team at ending possessions with defensive rebounds. The defense doesn't look as good as maybe you might think, but we talked about it with the Magic. You force turnovers, you rebound the ball, and you'll have a good defense. Then they were also good at defending these key aspects of the game that the Magic weren't, but also had a top three defense doing. This is a good defensive team all around, but specifically guarding the paint and the pick and roll. Anything you have on this?
I think it's a testament to some of the guys they have out there, especially Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, even Tatum, even Jaylen Brown. All those guys are great defenders, and it's pretty much damn near impossible to get a layup up on Porzingis.
Certainly. And I mean, we'll get into it with the scheme stuff, but everybody is tall. Uh, Good luck scoring against any of their guys at the rim. Derek White is probably the best shot blocking guard in the league.
Yep.
Drew Holiday is 6'5", playing point guard. Jason Tatum's an elite help side defender. Jaylen Brown is a crazy athlete. Porzingis is 7'3". This is a huge team that they're going to beat you on defense by stopping you from scoring at the rim, which is where the most valuable points come. Going forward to coaching, they do run a lot of double big lineups, a lot of Horford with Porzingis, a lot of either of those guys with Cornette or either of those guys with Tillman. And those lineups were very effective. And lineups where they had two guards on the lineup. They could do it a good bit because Holiday and Derek White are bigger, but when they would play Pritchard, they would generally play Pritchard as the lone guard. Um,
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have much on the lineup stuff because a lot of their guys were similar sized anyway. I probably wouldn't even consider body type wise Drew Holiday or Derek White to be guards. They're wing size players who are
Yeah.
guards. Anything you got there?
Not really much on the lineup stuff.
Yeah. And then going forward, coaching, uh, you know, Joe Mazzulla is their head coach. Yeah, he came from the Brad Stevens coaching tree. It seems like everybody is. All of their head coaches are internally brought in, pretty much. Uh, they haven't hired a new head coach this offseason. They didn't hire very many last season when Missoula was entering his first full season as a coach. And just in general, the Celtics are a great team. We'll get into some of the other things about them later on in the prediction section, but they are coached really well. Brad Stevens does a great job in the front office, just like Danny Ainge did previously. And it seems like they grow great NBA coaches on a tree. So, what do you got on, scheme stuff as well, but Joe Mazzulla and their coaching staff, if you have anything
I
to say?
mean, you pretty much touched on it all. The Joe Mazzulla standpoint, he did a great job in taking over Ime Udoka, and I think that he really got this team into shape. What I noticed, some of the film stuff, they like do a lot of off-ball movement. They like the ISO drive, as you said. They like to let the bigs work, mainly Porzingis. They like to let Porzingis work in the paint, especially high block, let him get to his spot. He'll do that dirty fadeaway that he always does and drain it. And they also like to kick and drive a lot. Kick to Al Horford, wide open in corner for three. Sam Hauser open for three. Pritchard at the top of the key. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I noticed on offense. And on defense, it was just pretty much our guys are better than yours.
Yeah,
Played a lot of
very
man.
straight up on defense, but the things that they do,
Yeah,
we'll definitely get into is in the predictions and choosing MVPs and stuff. But it's a lot about that our guys, we can guard anybody with anybody. Drew Holiday played possessions guarding Embiid last season when they played against Philadelphia. In the finals last season, Jason Tatum guarded like was the primary matchup for their centers with Lively and Gafford. They're going to do a bunch of creative stuff on offense and on defense. They have their guards stand in the dunker spot because it puts Kyrie Irving as the help side defender instead of a center. They
yeah,
do a lot of really smart stuff here, and a lot of it is opened up by their guys being better than your guys at really important swing skills, size, defensive instincts, and they can shoot. All of their guys can shoot.
yep,
It's the Celtics' main. If the Celtics couldn't shoot, if their guys weren't as good as shooters as the position that they play, like Porzingis and Horford, maybe they don't have this dominance, but they do. So they are clearly the best team in the league. At
100%.
you know, you couldn't make a statistical argument that the Celtics were not the best team last season.
No, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Agree.
But
You touched on it all.
yeah, certainly. Um, and then on offense, they're going to share the ball. Uh, they were really good in isolation efficiency because they would always just go to whoever has the best matchup. It felt like if Jaylen Brown had the best matchup, they're running it through him. If Porzingis has the best matchup, they're going to run it through him. If Tatum has the best matchup, they're going to run it through him. All of that. Maybe we were solid with the ball handler numbers. They weren't super impressive in that aspect. And it makes sense because none of their guys are, this this obvious like point guard facilitator, right? Like White and Holiday. They're not your Tyrese Halliburtons. Tatum, although I think is really underrated in the playmaking department, He's not LeBron James. He's not any of these super elite wing passers. They're not going to get you by making a D pass, but they're going to get you by making the right passes to get the ball in the right spot, to create the right actions that they want. They're going to facilitate all together versus one guy doing it, which doesn't really show up in the pick and roll. And I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean, oh, sorry.
you got it. You got it.
I was gonna say, they just have really good decision making. All their players do with passing the ball. They always make the right pass, and it always leads to an open bucket.
Yeah, certainly. They're doing the right play every time. Uh, and they're getting all the right guys around there to run this style, because I don't know if this style of offense would work if you had your traditional 1A playmaker, lead facilitator like a Luka or a Shea Gilgeous, guys like that.
Yep.
Going forward into the offseason, they had they had draft picks, 30th overall, because you win the ring, you get the last pick. They
Hmm.
drafted Baylor Shireman, 6'6". He's a shooter. He'll make the right passes. He's 23 years old. He can probably step into the rotation right away. Did you have any notes on Baylor?
Um, like you said, a shooter, 38% from the 3 point line. He averaged 9 rebounds per game at 6'6". I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Um, good good floor spacer. Definitely adds some of that, and he can create his own shot. I think if there was something I would knock is maybe the defense.
For sure. Yeah, he didn't look great out there, but they have the infrastructure to hide guys like this as well. Um, but yeah, it is a valid point. But what I think they'll ask him to do is play a similar role to Sam Hauser in this team, just another
Yeah.
tallish guy who can shoot. I think it was a great pickup by them. You're not going to get much else in with the 30th pick in the draft. I think it's a good pick by them. UDFA, Tristan, last name. So actually, don't even. Okay. I do not know this dude's name. I'm gonna go real GM. Let's see. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, they have him as limited playing time. Yeah. Okay. All right. UDFA for them this season. Tristan Inirum, 6'8" power forward. He is a shooter. Fits the Celtics type of player that they like to bring in. It's a UDFA, so it probably won't end up being that much in the end. Two-way contract. We'll see whatever he becomes. At the end of the day, we might not mention him at this time a year from now. Did you have anything on him?
No, not anything on him. I had
Uh,
their other draft pick though.
on Baylor?
Nah, they had another draft pick, Anton Watson.
Okay, yeah. What did you have on him? I actually didn't even write him down.
He's a versatile defender, 6'8". You know, not really your typical offensive scorer, which was a little interesting. I think I can see him fitting the Cedric Tillman role. 6'8", 230. He's a really good defender. He's versatile too, so can help on those switches. And he's really good around the rim, especially with finishing.
Okay,
He,
yeah. It's good stuff. Um, and he's a center, I believe, right?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
center forward.
And then outside of that, they barely did anything in the free agency market. They brought in Ron Harper. who was
Hey.
in the G League last season. He's a 6'4" shooter from the G League. He's decently young. Again, they like to bring in these shooters. Fits the mold for sure.
Yeah, he was
Um,
nice at Rutgers.
yeah, he was. A, he could shoot.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
Subtractions this year, they lost O'Shea Brissett. Sucks. I mean,
Dang.
this is where they expect Baylor Shireman to fill in. Maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't do anything too significant, but he's tallish and he can shoot.
Yeah.
And then they lost Svi Mikhailu again. Another one of these guys who he can shoot. He can go play for the Celtics. Um, Outside of that, they had a ton of extensions, and I think this is the big last part of the episode to talk about with the Celtics. A lot of the time, the Celtics would make this new extension signing, and people would be like, where do the Celtics get all this money from? I don't understand. I'm here to explain that to you. So, with how the NBA contracts work, teams have a salary cap. You cannot go over that salary cap unless you have exceptions to go over the salary cap.
Okay.
The most common exception is the bird rights exception, which allows you to re-sign a player by going over the salary cap. That is how the Celtics made every single one of their exceptions. That's how they signed everybody. Everybody
Okay.
knows about the Jaylen Brown contract. It was record breaking at the time, and it was Jaylen Brown, so it caused a lot of talk there. Jason Tatum this season broke that record. He signed for $313 over 5 seasons. He got the full 35% max contract.
Yeah.
This offseason.
It's a lot of money.
Again, the Celtics were already over the cap. They are just signing their guys back using bird rights. KP, they already had signed him to an extension right after trading for him. They signed him to a 6-year or $60 million over 2 seasons contract using bird rights. Jrue Holiday, they signed him mid-season to $134 million over 4 seasons using bird rights. Allows them to go over the cap to re-sign their own guy. Obviously, we touched on Jason Tatum. Derek White, they re-signed for $118 million over 4 seasons using bird rights. Peyton Pritchard, they had signed already before the season, $30 million over 4 seasons. Again, they can go over the cap to re-sign their own players. And then Sam Hauser, $45 million over 4 seasons using bird rights. So, with all of these contracts, the Celtics locked themselves into what is called the second apron of the luxury tax, which in the NBA is supposed to act as a hard cap before the actual hard cap, which once you reach the hard cap, you cannot go over, no matter if you have bird rights or not. The idea of the second apron is to stop teams from doing what the Celtics basically just did and bring everybody back. The key parts of the second apron are putting restrictions on how you get players outside of your own team. So the Celtics being locked into the second apron can bring their own guys back perfectly fine. But if they are wanting to make a trade, they have to send out, let's say they want to take on a $20 million salary. They have to send the full $20 million. They can't go $17 million like other teams can and take on that $20 million. They have to send out at least that full $20 million. But instead of being able to stack salaries, right? Usually, like if the Knicks were wanting to trade for multiple guys, they could trade a $14 million and a $3 million, and that would
And
stack
then
up to
yeah.
the Celtics have to send in one player's contract. They have to send
Damn.
$20 million. So for them, that means either White, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jrue Holiday, or Porzingis.
Damn.
Basically, it makes it to where you are limited to the guys on your team.
Unless you make a blockbuster trade.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, if you're in the second apron for a long time, which the Celtics are projecting themselves to be over the second apron for multiple seasons, your first round draft pick, I believe, gets moved back, which for them, hopefully that means nothing because they win the championship.
Yeah.
But for a team like Phoenix is over the second apron.
What do you mean push back? Like they don't get it, or it just goes to a different
Like, let's
year?
say Phoenix might not even have their own pick, but if they were to have their own pick,
Uh huh.
it would move to the later part of the first round, regardless of where they
Oh,
finished in
okay.
that season, which is it's kind of crazy because it's not even like restrictive. It's almost like generally just punishing teams for spending
Yeah. Yeah.
all the
That's
other second
crazy.
apron rules are general. The Celtics are one of two teams to go over the second apron spending limits since it's been implemented in the league. It's been the Celtics and the Suns. Of course, the Celtics, it's now worth doing for them
Yeah.
because they won the championship. You want to keep this core together. And basically, they are going to be over the salary cap forever. They're never going to have salary space until basically all of these deals expire in 3 or 4 seasons. So, um, that was basically all of the stuff on the salaries. If you have questions, I'm sure the viewers would definitely have them as well. Do you have any questions on that front?
No, I mean it just sounds like pretty much the Celtics are stuck with these guys, but that's not a bad thing to be stuck with at all.
Yeah,
And
so
you're talking about Jason Tatum, who is your team pretty much. Like that's the France of your franchise. Derek White has been a huge player for you, and especially in the playoffs last year. Sam Hauser, who's a knockdown 3-point shooter. I mean, it sucks that they have all those limitations, but I think it was the right move.
and certainly with the Celtics, unlike the Suns, the Celtics have control of all of their first round picks. That is the way that you get good players onto your roster for cheap because then you will have their bird rights and you will be able to keep them on the
Resign them.
team. The Suns don't have that. They're stuck with the team that they have and guys they can bring in on veteran minimum contracts. That is
Okay,
that is the danger of the second apron. Is if you are a team that doesn't have their own first round picks and you go into
you're
the second
screwed.
apron, you better have a championship winning team because otherwise it's not going to be easy to replenish a good team.
Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely very interesting. I had no clue. I didn't even know there was a second apron. So
mhm. And it's also it is restrictive against the ownership too. They have to pay money against the luxury tax.
mm-hmm.
So you're seeing it now. The Celtics owner is trying to sell the team. Of course, this is damn near the most expensive roster in NBA history. It probably is. It's going to be hard to get people to buy, and there already
Mm-hmm.
aren't that many people who can buy NBA teams.
Yeah,
And most of the people who do already have NBA teams. It's
yeah.
really hard for ownership to deal with these type of financial commitments. Um, Additionally, I did get some stat stuff. Um, the one thing that I came to, and this is not to tuck down on a player because I understand that he is one of the more popular players on the team, but the only thing that I could come from looking at the net ratings of this team, everybody's net rating gets worse when Jaylen Brown's on the court, except Kristaps Porzingis. And then a lot of the net ratings with Jaylen off the court are the highest for those individual players. So like Tatum's highest net rating lineup is without Jaylen on the court. Similar with Holiday and White and Horford. Not with Porzingis. Porzingis is pretty all the way through. Like I said, they are kind
Good.
of unbeatable with Porzingis
Yeah.
on the court. So that doesn't come up. But is there anything that you maybe think around this Jaylen Brown net rating saga that you would like to bring up?
I mean, that's crazy considering he won the Finals MVP. I think I like Jalen Brown a lot, so I I don't know. I'm very high on Jalen Brown. I honestly don't like Tatum. Not not that he's I just don't like him.
Yeah,
But so I'm more of a Jalen Brown guy. But that's actually very interesting.
yeah, and
That's yeah. That's all I got. It's very interesting. I'm
this
surprised.
argument,
I'm very shocked.
yeah, and this argument does come up a lot with around Celtics discourse. Is JV is kind of you know the numbers say that he's maybe not as good as your brain probably tells you that he is. Um, a lot of the argument around it is with the like the mop up lineup for the Celtics when they're already blowing people out also just kills people, so it messes up a bunch of the on off numbers. But the fact that Jalen Brown is the worst player, or he makes everybody's net rating worse, I think is worth noting. I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't because of that. Because otherwise, I would agree that it is kind of noise, and it's really hard to make anything out of looking at the Celtics net ratings because everybody's like ridiculously positive.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point to bring up, especially if it makes every player like he doesn't make one guy better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a point to bring up.
Yeah, but
We'll see
at
if
the end of
that.
the day, he is still a vastly positive player. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just is basically that is all that I had collected on the Celtics. Is there anything that you had collected statistically that we want to talk about before we go towards predictions?
I mean, not really. I don't think anything. I think there's nothing really to talk about. They're a great team,
Yeah,
great coach team. Front office is great. They're making all the right decisions to make this the next dynasty of the NBA. Um, yeah, that's all I got. I mean, I'm going to talk more when we get to the season predictions. So
yeah, certainly. Like it's this was probably the hardest team to do research for because
yeah,
they were already so good and they didn't do much in the offseason. They didn't lose much in the offseason, so it's really hard to make talking points around the Celtics.
the same team pretty much.
It's the same team that won 64 games a season ago and basically walked hands free to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so we'll just go ahead and go to the preseason predictions then. Um, is there any significant predictions you have, and then also your MVPs for this team?
I guess I'll do like a breakout player. I think Peyton Pritchard just absolutely lights up the league this year and actually gets a chance to really show how great of a player he is. I mean, this guy's an insane shooter, 38% from the 3 point line last year, and I think that he can only get better. He has decent playmaking too. He's good on defense. The only thing that he really has to is to the only thing he really has to improve on is consistent, become more of that consistent shooter and decision making. But we saw throughout the playoffs how he would make insane half court shots, deep threes, and if he's open, he's going to make it. And I think he's going to have a huge year next year, become a big part for them.
Yeah, certainly. And the half court shots was really interesting because I had noticed early in the regular season that he just kind of does that. And then
Yeah,
it shows up in the NBA Finals too. And you're like, oh my
yeah,
God, what is this? Like,
yeah,
he made a ton of them in the regular season. Um, I think Pritchard is really, yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He's stuck on this super team for, I mean, this is legitimately a super team. That
yeah.
word gets thrown around a lot, but
No,
the
yeah,
one time it actually applies, I don't think I hear it enough for this team. Uh, and I think on a lot of teams, Pritchard would be probably averaging, 15 points a game,
yeah. That's exactly what I
getting
think.
a ton of shots.
100% agree.
Um, see, going forward to project this team, though, I feel like this happens with the Celtics all the time, is they just have these bad vibes going into the season. You remember, like maybe 2 seasons ago when Ime had his whole saga that got him run
Oh
out of
yeah,
Boston,
yeah, yeah.
and people were like, maybe the Celtics are like the 6th seed, and then they ended up being fine with
Yeah,
Missoula anyway. That happened. Looking back on the season, it was crazy because I had thought the Celtics were going to take a step back. They had going into Ime's season. They started the year horribly. They were like the 7th seed, and then midway through the season, they became the best defense in the league and jumped all the way to the 2 seed. This team tends to have bad vibes at the start. Tatum always starts the year like horribly, it feels like. Um, one season it's he can't make shots at the rim. This season, he couldn't shoot step back threes, and then he eventually got that together.
Yeah.
Science says the Celtics will probably start slow, and a big part of that, Kristaps Porzingis is hurt. He'll miss likely until January, and with the identity of the 2025 team or the 2024 team, I think he was one of the key pieces there, and I think he's a lot closer to one than I think people will give credit for. So, anything on Porzingis here?
Um, well, we're gonna do individual rankings in a second, or
Yeah, we
he.
definitely will.
Okay, well he's. I mean, I think he's the biggest piece for the Celtics. Like you said, when he's on the court, he's unbeatable. It's actually kind of insane how good he is from outside the 3 point line and his ability to shoot it from the post. And it's not like he's shooting these 3 pointers like right at the top of the key. Like he will pull it from 5, 6 feet out. It's really
Exactly.
insane. Yeah, my biggest knock on him is that he is made of glass, and that is what he's known for. Cannot stay on the floor at all. Um, but I mean, when he is on the floor, he's one of the best stretch bigs in the league. I think he shoots the best. I think he's a better shooter than Cat. More
Additionally,
consistent.
I think saying stretch bigs in the league is a little, uh, it's almost like inconsiderate to how good he is. I think he's just flat out one of the best bigs in the league. Um, and you mentioned
Yeah.
the pop shooting. Not only will he do a pick and pop, but he'll then backdoor the pick and pop when the defender's trying to recover to him, and it's kind of the most entertaining thing to see a defense try to guard because Porzingis will beat you no matter what you do. He's ridiculous. Missing him for the at least till January is crazy because realistically with Porzingis, he might not come back till March. Like, or he might come back and it'll be on limited minutes, and he's not full power till March. He might get hurt again. It from what I like to do. I do not like to project injuries on a team. I don't want to say, hey, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to be hurt. But Porzingis is going to be hurt, and we know that already. So going forward, I think tempering the expectations for the Celtics in the regular season, I think is something that people won't do, but I think is really important. Um, Additionally, like we had said, with the Celtics never having good vibes to start the season, if you paid attention to the Jaylen Brown stuff recently,
You talking about what he said about Bronny?
no, that I mean that's
Is there
just
more?
true. He
Is
was
there more?
he kind of got mad at Nike for him not being on Team USA. Like he
He
was
got
being
mad at
publicly,
Mikey.
yeah, he was publicly mad at
Oh, at
Nike for,
Nike. Oh yeah, yeah. I did see that. I did see
yeah,
that.
and it was like, whatever, you can have your opinion on that, but the guy who they did pick was your teammate.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look good, but he did kind of get done dirty. I feel like,
Yeah,
but I mean,
essentially.
obviously, terrible look. But he did get
Yeah,
done dirty.
yeah. It was whatever. It just adds to the Celtics thing, and then now with the owner and trying to sell the
And
team and
Jason
Porzingis,
Tatum, Jason Tatum not getting playing time during the Olympics. That was a
that
big talking point.
yeah,
Huge
and
talking point.
Tatum becoming the meme of the NBA world too.
Yeah. Oh
Although,
yeah.
I mean, it was going to happen with him not winning either of the finals or conference finals MVP. Although I'll say this, looking back, if we look back on this a couple years from now, I think that finals MVP will be looked at pretty similar to the Iguodala MVP.
Okay.
Like I think generally Tatum did deserve it over Brown, but Jaylen Brown was the guy scoring at the end of the games. So, you know,
Yeah.
take with it what you will. I think whatever he was memed to the death of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, going forward to predictions with all these things in consideration, um, I think that they might not actually have a good regular season relative to the Celtics standard, which has been perfect over the past 10 seasons. It feels like um, picking offensive MVP for them just because Porzingis isn't going to play. Because I think if Porzingis is playing consistently, he's their offensive MVP. I think their offensive MVP has to be Jason Tatum. Um, and I think he's also their defensive MVP. And I say this because although White and Holiday get the credit for being the great defenders, and they are, I think Tatum unlocks a lot of the schemes that they do to run against teams specifically. And I think without Tatum, they don't have that. They can get away with Horford playing the center spot because Tatum is so versatile and can honestly guard 1 through 5 pretty damn well. Um,
Okay.
then X Factor, Porzingis' health is their X Factor. Is he healthy? Is he not? If he's healthy and playing well, they might, you know, we might get deja vu again.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. I had a little bit different but similar. I think the only difference I had was the defensive player of the year, but I went with Tatum, offensive player of the year as well. It's undeniable to say that he's just a true scorer. 27 points per game last year. He shot it from the three. He shot it from the mid range. He could drive and finish. Defensive player of the year, I'm going with Derek White again. I mean, he's a guard averaging. I mean, he was up there with top five shot blockers in the league. I mean, he's insane to say, but he blocks bigs driving to the hole. He can guard. He's like you said, he's big, versatile defender. And my X factor was also Kristaps Porzingis. If he's healthy, they're the best team. Um, when he's not, they're still really good. But you have a 30, like a really old Al Horford in there.
37, it feels like
Yeah,
now.
he's really really
He's
old.
older than their head coach.
Yeah, but I mean, if Porzingis is healthy, I mean, this team is crazy.
Yeah,
Dumb.
certainly. For that reason, based off of the Porzingis injury coming in the offseason, I'm going to say that they did get worse,
Okay.
but I don't think it's going to matter come April. They're still probably, they're definitely still a finals contender. If Porzingis is even out for most of the season and isn't healthy when the playoffs come around, they're still a finals contender, right? You're going to have that
Yep.
expectation of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, two of the highest paid players in the league, right? Finals contender, they're still really good even without Porzingis, but with Porzingis, they're probably the favorite.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that they got worse as well, losing Porzingis. But I think they still have a strong start to the season because they've played a lot of games without Porzingis. Al Horford has shown that he can hold his own, albeit it's not the best option to be out there. But I mean, he's still a 3-point shooter. I mean, it's annoying as hell to watch, but he knocks down pretty much every open shot he can get. Um, I think that they'll be fine. They'll overcome the Porzingis stuff. I think Baylor Scheinman gets a role, and I think he does very well. I think he proves that he can shoot at the NBA level. Um, it's just gonna be interesting to see. Luke Cornett, it's gonna be fun to watch him. I guess he's always funny to watch. Cedric Tillman, I love Cedric Tillman. When he was on the Grizzlies before, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I heard him from.
Great.
I like Cedric Tillman. Yeah, he's really good.
I think just having him gives them some experience with Porzingis out. Maybe
Yeah,
Horford starts, but Tillman, I mean, he's a legit NBA center. He can play. Um, but he doesn't. I don't think even having Tillman out there takes them to that crazy level that They obviously are with
No,
Porzingis.
yeah, 100% agree. And I can also see them having a start like you said. Um, I just think they're going to be able to overcome it. I think this team is experienced. Obviously, they're like a family. A lot of these guys have been with each other for a while, and they all know that they're here to stay for a very long time. So I
Yeah,
think in the end they end up overcoming it. But I can definitely see them having a crash and burn type of start to the
yeah,
season.
certainly. I don't know where it will end up having them in the Eastern Conference for the regular season. We'll get to that in the Indiana episode for sure when we
Yep.
rank all of the Eastern Conference. But this is an improving conference, and right now I could see them slipping, and maybe they don't have home court advantage for the first round. But do I think it'll matter if Porzingis is healthy? I don't think it matters at all.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Celtics at that top seed, but I mean, if Porzingis is out for half the year, you're
Yeah,
not gonna be able to win 60 games
till
again.
till January,
Yeah, it's
it's gonna
tough.
be hard.
Yeah.
Um, unless you have anything else, we're probably all done with the reigning champs, and we can talk about the other teams that do actually matter. What we think about them.
I'm done. I got nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an
This,
easy one for us to get ready for,
yeah,
but it would be very hard to be wrong about the Celtics team because if we're being objective, they're really fucking good.
yeah.
So if you got any other comments, then we're gonna head out of here. All right.
All right.
Well, that's the Boston Celtics episode. The next episode should be the Brooklyn Nets episode. I'm your host Patrick McDonald. I'm heading out, and deuces to y'all, and Sheldon Kaufman's out.